The thing for me was I surrounded myself with really, really good people and a really good team. You know, we play a violent game. We understand the risk that we take.
Do you think about, like, regret? Do you kind of... I don't sit with regret.
I've never been too much of a fan of him, to be honest.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, I'm just learning about him, and I don't have a positive opinion.
Yeah. You know, there was a stat that came out that like 80% of the players ended up broken divorce 2 years after leaving the league.
He hit $15 million last year.
$15 million. Some people fell out their chair just now.
Money is a tool, and I'm realizing that more and more.
I came upon that chapter of yours about self-care, and I was like, well, if that's not the universe speaking to me right now through Arlan, I don't know what is.
When you end up on the Esquire Best Dress list and on the Daily Mail Worst Dress list, you're doing something right.
It's always been an intellectual game. I just think there's more people involved in it now.
Hey, Bobby Wagner.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to have you here, and it's kind of weird seeing you off the field because I've just been paying so much attention to you on the field. Number 45. Mm-hmm. You said your favorite number is what?
My favorite number is 9. Number 9.
Can you tell us why your favorite number is 9?
It was kind of like growing up as a kid. You know, you watch like Kobe and you watch Jordan and all those guys. And so I was getting ready to like play like middle school or something, and I was going to pick one of those numbers just because I wanted to be like them. And then, like, my mom was just like, why don't you pick your own number? And, you know, we were trying to figure out what number it was, and I just so happened to have 9 on that day. And she was like, well, why don't you wear number 9? And so I just wore number 9. And it's just kind of funny, as I got older, like, there's so many things that attracted me to that number now. So it's more than just, like, a number that me and my mom picked. But, yeah, so... anything that I do typically has a 9 attached to it.
It's either 9 or it adds up to 9.
Adds up
which
to
I think
9.
is so interesting because you were 54 at Seattle.
Yep.
45 in LA.
Yep. So when I came here, you know, we had a guy that was wearing 54, and I kind of wanted to start something different anyway, so I just flipped it.
That's incredible. Does the number 9 mean something to you also because of your mother? Your mother was there because you talk about her quite a bit. What does she mean to you?
She means everything to me. You know, she definitely helped me through a lot of my time growing up. She's guided me in a lot of ways, physically and spiritually. And so, you know, she's somebody I try to make proud every day. And it's been a blessing to kind of just have her with me in this journey.
Yeah, great. Okay, so we know that I'm not a big sports person. I'm getting into it, though. Mm-hmm. Basketball, now football. Okay, so...
Football will take over at some point.
Okay.
Try.
So were there ever any other sports for you?
Basketball was my first sport, actually.
Yeah, because you're talking about Jordan and Kobe.
So I was watching basketball. I always thought I was going to be a basketball player.
Really?
Yeah. But
are you good?
I'm decent.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, just like my height just didn't, you know what I mean?
Well, there's all kinds of people who are not.
Yeah, but at the time, everybody was like, you know, even like the people I was playing with was like 6'6", and so they were looking at those guys. And you know, football really wasn't the height wasn't a thing. It was can you hit or not. And
and speaking of that, so again, I don't know a lot. So if I'm saying something ignorant, just let me know. But your position is linebacker, right? Mm-hmm. And aren't linebackers usually like bigger guys?
It depends on the time. I mean, I think before. Like maybe about 10, 15 years ago, even longer than that, they were probably bigger because they were just, you know, run stoppers, tacklers, things of that nature. But now, like, they're not. You have to be more mobile.
It's
you
the
have
agility.
to be able to, because now it's not just tackling and runs. Can you cover a receiver? Mm-hmm. The backs are coming out of the backfield playing like receivers. So you got to be able to kind of guard everybody, to be honest.
It's more, this is what I've noticed from afar. It seems more of a intellectual game today. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense, or is that offensive to say?
No.
It seems more of it seems more chess. Yeah. Than it used to be brute force.
Yeah, I think it's always been chess. It's always been an intellectual game from a from my perspective. I just think there's more people involved in it now. Like I feel like before, like you said, only a couple people had to be smart, and you probably got away with it. But now it's like there's so many different things going on, so many different ways to run formation that it's not just up to like the linebackers. The DBs have to be smart. The D linemen, and the league makes the defensive job a lot harder. So I think that
what does
plays a
that
part.
mean? What does it mean the league makes it harder?
Well, I say that I feel like the league, all of the rules that the league puts in place are centered around protecting the quarterback and protecting the offensive player. So, 9 times out of 10 we're getting flags, we're getting penalties, we're getting kicked out of games because of the stuff that we're doing.
Right.
But the offensive players don't have to worry about that. So defensive players over the years had to adjust the way they play if they want to stay in the game. And so we've had to, again, like you said, be smarter, faster. We're traveling, many miles, and we have to figure out how to move our head out of the way and hit with our shoulders and things of that nature. And so, I definitely feel like there's definitely a talent, more talent now than there was before because it's so harder to move and not get penalized.
Is it like in blackjack where the person next to you makes a mistake? It can affect, obviously, people coming at you, but on your team. Is it like, in blackjack, if you play, the person next to you get mad at them for doing the wrong thing?
Yeah.
Is it like the person, because you're saying, the way you're describing this, it's like if your teammate hasn't locked in, it could affect you.
Yeah, we call it like you all on the string. So one person moves, another person moves. So, that's kind of how we've always viewed it. So if somebody messes up, you feel their mistake.
Yeah.
And, can you right it? Can you correct it?
Yeah.
But we all move at a time, cohesive.
I want to talk about something that's is tough to talk about, but I think it's important. The player Demar who fell out, collapsed, and everybody's talking about it. The whole country came together when that happened. But as a player, one of the few players in the NFL, there are billions of people in the world. You're one of the few people in the NFL. How was it to go out the next Sunday? Does it affect you, or is it more like that happened? That's a one-time thing.
I think there has been like a, kind of a perspective for me. Like you see so much, and so you kind of get used to it to an extent.
Yes.
But even something like that, I hadn't saw that before.
It's shocking.
And so so like I wasn't even watching the game. I was doing something else, and my boy who was at my house came in and was like, yo, you got to come see this. And so when he said that, I was like, okay, it has to be pretty bad for him to say, because he knows, like, when somebody break their leg or somebody, I don't want to see all that. But, to watch that and see that, it was definitely crazy. Definitely wanted to pray for him.
Yes.
But too, at the end of the day, like, I've also been in the league for a very long time, so I've seen a lot of things.
Yeah.
My first year in the league was when there was somebody, I forget his name, from Kansas City. He came and shot his girlfriend and I think himself in the parking lot. And they played that following week. And
is this a guy from Hawaii?
I'm not sure. I can't
remember. There was
remember.
another guy that...
Yeah, there's been so many different things. Or like I was a part of a situation where one of my teammates got hit similarly like that, and he was down, didn't stand up and collapse like that, but hurt his neck significantly to where like they said if the staff didn't properly take care of his head the way that they needed to, like that could have been a different event as well. And so, we play a violent game. We understand the risk that we take, and when we see we all brothers. So when we see somebody down like that, like that's when the game becomes bigger than the game. Like you care more about him and his family than you do the result of the game. So I'm happy that they stopped the game and they did the right thing. But the most that we can do is pray for his health.
Do you happen to have an opinion of what Skip said?
Skip?
Yeah, how he said that he's tweeted that the NFL, how are they going to stop the game if it was so important?
Yeah, I've never been too much of a fan of him, to be honest.
Okay.
So, it dates way back to like the Richard Sherman days, where how he handled Richard Sherman and just the stuff that he said. The stuff that he said over the course of the year, and even how again, I don't know what's real and what's not, but how he's handled Shannon Sharp, I haven't been a fan of that. So I don't have a positive opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm just learning about him, and I don't have a positive opinion of him.
But if you've been around the game for a long time, you hear all the stuff that he says. Like he picks certain people that he's either a fan of or not a fan of, and he locks in. Like LeBron, he always talks trash about LeBron for whatever reason.
Because he's not him.
I don't know.
That's why.
And again, this recent thing with Shannon Sharp has been kind of crazy because like Shannon has shown so much professionalism and how to handle things when they're not going the way you want, or maybe the relationship is not as good as it could be. And I think Skip kind of takes advantage of that. So yeah, like I said, I don't really have too much of a positive opinion on him.
Yeah, he might be on his way to do something else, play golf or something.
Who knows? I mean, the way this industry works.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, steeped in an industry that's not built. Speaking of, I know you make investments in companies. We're going to switch gears a little bit, but I want to talk, before we talk about your tech investing, because I think that's absolutely fascinating. I want to talk about something that's so interesting, I think will be interesting to this audience, is that I think twice you have negotiated your own NFL deals as a free agent. Is that what it's called, or is it something different?
Once as a free agent, and another it was an extension with the team I was with.
Okay. Why did you make that decision?
I just think that I wanted to be different, and as I looked, when I first got into the league, there was a stat that came out that like 80% of the players ended up broken divorce 2 years after leaving the league. And so I just thought it was wild that was the case. You see all these guys, like you said, work so hard, risk so much, and then walk away with nothing. And so I was trying to figure out, how can I be the 20%, or how can I be different than the guys that walked away with nothing? And so it started with me like interning at different companies, and then it led to me kind of having confidence because, this game takes so much of your time. And so I was like, all right, what can I do that can show that I'm interested in business, have a passion for it, and, learning the business that I was in and negotiating my deal was a way of kind of showing everybody that I'm more than just the athlete.
So that's rare, right? To be able to do something like, I don't hear about that happening, even as an observer in the background, for any of the major leagues. Does it happen just every blue moon?
Yeah, it's definitely rare, but I think it's becoming a little bit more, not either common or just more people are seeing that the traditional model is kind of broken. And so either you find a way to make that model better, or you kind of do it yourself. And so there's been a combination between, there have been more players that have been interested in doing the deals themselves, and kind of controlling what they do with that percentage that they give away. But then also I feel like there's been an agent shift where, if you're going to, like, you have to be a man or woman of your word. Like, if you're going to do and say something, you better follow through, because there is another option that excludes you.
Yeah, it's kind of like whether to take venture capital as an entrepreneur or not. Because the VCs, they used to have this different dynamic where you had to go to them almost. Right. Now it's, no, actually, you're taking the reins back into our own hands. So I like that parallel. Yeah. Do you think of yourself as fiscally conservative? Like, with your money, do you keep, you have like a plan? Because you talked about the future. That's what this is all about. This is your first $1 million, and we know publicly. You don't have to tell us. We know publicly you've made your first $1 million a long time ago. So how do you're in your 30s? How are you in your 60s or 80s with millions? How do you think about that?
I feel like the thing for me was I surrounded myself with really, really good people and a really good team. Really good people that inspire me to do right and do good with my money, but then really good people that push me in the right direction as far as investing and things of that nature. And so my first years in the league, you had to kind of sit back and not be a part of all of the stuff that goes on. Like, when you first get in the league, like, you walk into, or you drive into that parking lot, there's Rolls Royces, Bentleys, Bugattis, like everything. And it's so hard to not want to participate in that, knowing you have it. And so I think that's, in my opinion, where guys go wrong. They try to compete with, you got first-year guys competing with guys that's been in the league for like 10 years. And,
Yes.
Competing, period. Like, we play a sport where our face is covered. So people don't know who we are, and people don't know how much we make. So sometimes we compensate by overspending or doing more to show what we have.
Wow.
And so I didn't participate in that. I'd saved my first a long time over the years. And so once I felt, not only did I save, but I learned, how the money works and how everything, if you do it right, you can have fun later on. So I feel like I'm at that point where, I enjoy myself now.
Yeah. And going back to your tech investments, you were in Seattle for, 10 years?
10 years,
10
yeah.
years. So you're up there with Amazon and
Yeah.
Microsoft. Is that how you started seeing the startups? And
Yeah,
kind of-
I got introduced to a guy named John Connors, who was a CFO at Microsoft, and went from that to being a general partner at a venture capitalist firm in Seattle. And so I got exposed to it from that perspective. But then he also pushed me to do internships. So I did internship at Starbucks. I did an internship at Microsoft. So I just started, trying to build my net worth and knowledge. And, he was grateful enough to open the books to me. So I saw the companies that they were investing in, companies that I would have never even thought about investing in, because it's all software, all tech, kind of behind the scene tech too at that. So
yeah,
it's just
not
making
sexy.
it's not
big
like
deals, yeah.
probably the biggest thing that people probably would have known was like DocuSign. But even then, at that time, DocuSign, no one cares like how you sign the paper.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like
yeah.
nobody's interested
It's
in
the
that.
picks and the shovels.
Yeah, so it's not the Ubers and all that stuff in the world. It's the stuff behind the scene. And so, so I got, he was grateful enough to open the door and introduce me to more people. And, that's kind of how I got
Yeah.
started in that.
I'm going to ask you a question. It's going to be a little corny, but I'm very curious. What would you say to your self 20 years ago, and what would you say to yourself 20 years from now? 20 years ago.
20 years ago, what's that put me at? 12?
Yeah.
What would I say?
Like,
my
what would
12-year-old
would he
self?
be surprised? Would he be like, no, this was the plan?
I don't think he'd be surprised. I wouldn't say he would be like that was the plan.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'd be surprised.
Would he be proud?
I think, yeah, for sure would be proud. And my 12-year-old self, honestly, I would probably tell myself, enjoy the journey more and be grateful for the people that you have more. Because I think at that point you thought everybody around you was going to live forever.
Yeah.
And so I would say be more grateful for the people that you do have in your life right now, because, they're going to be gone. And so 20 years from now, what I say to that person, I think it would be more, it's like future. So I think I more just ask questions like, hey, how are we doing? Did we make, like, what did I pass on that I should probably double down on? I would probably say those are the things I would ask my future self, like, hey, are we doing the right things?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you think about like regret? Do you I don't sit with regret. I think about it as like it bogs me down, holds
Yeah.
me down. What do you think? What's your relationship with regret?
With regret, I think you feel it. Like regret is an interesting word or perspective. Like I think everything happens for a reason. And, if I'm happy with how things have gone in my life. And so changing one or two or three of those things will alter how the things are in my life. Like, would there be things that I would love to alter? Yeah, but I don't really spend too much time on regret. I just try to learn from my mistakes and learn from the things that I didn't do the best and make sure that I'm not doing those same things moving forward.
Yeah, you're not gonna make the same mistake 3-4 times in a row.
Yeah,
That's not gonna
that's the
happen.
goal. Like sometimes we're not
Amazing.
human, we'll do that, but
Amazing.
hopefully after the second or third time you stop doing it.
And my last question is about Aspiration. Like I said, you can Google what kind of deals you put together for yourself. You have the investments and all sorts of things. A lot of people have that, I want to be, like Kevin Hart, for instance, he wants to be a billionaire. There's just no question about it. Do you have a number in your mind that is important to you, or is it more about the journey and being safe and being, not being broke?
I mean, I think that is the goal. I think more people, especially people that look like us, need to strive for that. So, yeah, billion is the goal.
Okay.
But I think, too, the biggest thing for me is, like, that I want to own a team along the way. Like,
Wow.
I think if I do that, everything else kind of plays its part, too. Because
Yeah.
for me, it's like, we participate in this game that makes billions and billions and billions of dollars, but we don't get as much, but we have the most risk. And so for me, I think it'd be a success to be on the other side of that, like being able to participate in more of the upside in the business that I play in, but also change how they do the business because I've been a part of that business.
Yeah.
And so I think if I'm able to accomplish that, I would like to say that a lot of the other things that I want in my life are coming together.
So you're going to be the first. You're going to be the first person who's on your first million. Who'll be on your first billion.
Yes.
Yes, I
Yes.
love it. I
That's the
love it.
plan.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I learned so much more about you, and it's like so every time we talk, I feel like I learn a little bit more.
Appreciate it.
And I appreciate you and inspiring. I think what you said to your 12-year-old self, a lot of us are going to say to ourselves.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Appreciate it.